여러분 안녕하세요. Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to briefly talk about the general characteristics of Korean contemporary culture under this title, Beyond Hallyu. Hallyu, you may have heard of this word. Hallyu means like Korean wave, and when we talk about Korean contemporary pop culture, we use this word. But Korean contemporary culture is more than Hallyu, so I named my presentation title like this. So before talking about these cultural issues, let me talk about the position of the Korean language in the United States. The Korean language is one of the most fastest growing foreign language in higher education. It is now ranked as 10th most studied language. And it is considered a critical language, which means foreign languages that are critical to America's national security and prosperity. So there are North Korea and South Korea in Korean Peninsula, and this relationship between North and South Korea, and their relationship to United States is really critical to America's national security. So that's why Korean is considered a critical language. And there has been a shift from heritage learners to local and international students in Korean language classes. When I started my career as a Korean educator, I used to have lots of heritage students, which means students whose parents are from Korea. But nowadays, there are not many Korean heritage students anymore. So, the atmosphere of this Korean language education has been changed a lot. And there is a growing interest in Korean pop culture, so that's why you guys are taking my class this semester. However, the overall awareness of this country, Korea, is still relatively low. So, some of my neighbors, asked me when I told them I'm from Korea, and they asked me, "Oh, so are you from North or South?" So, yeah, probably it is not easy to see a person who came from North Korea in the United States. So, I guess general American people's understanding on Korean Peninsula issue is relatively very, ignorant. 그렇죠? 예. So, these are languages that are, taught in the United States. Spanish is number one, followed by French, American Sign Language, Japanese, German, Chinese, Italian, Arabic, Latin, and then Korean is placed here. And if you are learning the Korean language, you may have found it very difficult. 그렇죠? Yeah, this is very natural. Korean is categorized as category 4 language to English speaking people, which means to reach certain level, you need probably about four more times than Spanish to reach a certain level. So why is it so difficult? There are significant cross-linguistic and cross-cultural disparities between Korean and English. 그렇죠? Yeah. And there are too much linguistic content to cover in class. So, for example, Korean has honorifics. That kind of concept does not exist in English. And there are too many students in a class, so sometimes we often have more than 20 students in one classroom, and everybody should learn from scratch, how to write Hangul, how to pronounce Korean consonants correctly, like ba, pa, ba. They sound very similar to English speaking people, but they are working differently in the Korean language. And restricted teaching hours. Like if you are taking the Korean language in American university, then you may take 45 hours to 75 hours per semester. This is very limited. If you go to Korea and learn Korean there, it's much faster. But in America, it's very limited time. Limited students' motivation. Many of my current and previous students are taking the Korean language classes because there are like more language requirement. And they like BTS oppa들, and they like Korean music, and they take Korean language class. But there are too many assignments, and there are too much things to memorize. So some students give up in the middle. It's too much. 그렇죠. Yeah. So yeah, Korean language is not easy to learn by English-speaking American students. What words come to your mind when you hear the word Korean culture? This was one of my assignments that I, give you last time. So, what kind of answers did you put in this survey? So, I have been teaching this course like about 10 years and more than 10 years. And whenever I started this class, I asked students this question. And from like 5-6 years ago, I have collected their answers, and I put in like website where they make this word cloud, and I got this result, and it was very interesting. You can see the transportation. I didn't expect this word comes up by this question, and you can see K-pop and food and technology, K-drama, plastic surgery, probably plastic surgery, and Gangnam. This Gangnam area, Gangnam style. From that song, maybe many students have this image of Korean culture, and globalization. So there are so many random words when they think about this Korean culture. So let me talk about how to define a culture. So there are many different ways of explaining a culture, but this is one of the ways to classify a culture. 3 P's. So what are 3 P's? First P is perspective. So philosophical perspective. So traditional and contemporary values and practices. Patterns, it should be patterns of social interaction. So for example, Korean people bow. So Korean people use chopsticks when they eat food. So those kind of practices are one part of this culture, right? And products, there are cultural products, tangible products, intangible products. Like perspectives. Perspectives involve the underlying beliefs, values, worldviews, and ways of thinking that shape how people within a culture perceive and interpret the world around them. These perspectives influence how individuals make decisions, interact with each other, and understand the concepts like time, space, and social relationships. Can you understand what this is about? We have shared values. So we'll talk more in detail when we talk about the examples of perspectives. Practices. Practices encompass the behaviors, actions, rituals, and customs that people engage in within a culture. These actions are often influenced by cultural norms, values, and traditions. So there are thoughts, and those values like perspectives makes people behave in certain ways. So perspectives and practices are closely related to each other. Examples of practices include religious rituals, greetings, eating habits, and social interactions. And one more thing, product. Products refer to the tangible and intangible creations of a culture. Tangible products can include art, architecture, clothing, like Korean traditional clothes, hanbok, tools, and technology, while intangible products can include literature, music, folklore, and language. These products often reflect the creativity and expression of a culture's members. So, like perspectives, practices and products are closely related to each other. They have these kind of thoughts and they behave in certain way and they make certain products. So they are related to each other. Then let me give you some examples from my previous students' answers. So for philosophical perspectives, students, answered like Confucianism. Many students answered that when they hear this word Korean culture, they think of Confucianism. How much do you know about Confucianism? The most important value in Confucianism is respecting elders. And, there is a social hierarchy. So hierarchism is also very important concept among Korean people. Korean people really care about these age, differences. And you may have heard of these words, 선배 and 후배. So in K-pop industry, like 선배 singers, like Big Bang members, are respected by these BTS members. Because Big Bang members are older than BTS members, and Big Bang members started their career earlier. So there is a hierarchy. So hierarchism is really important. Filial piety. Have you ever heard of this phrase, filial piety? This is a translation of 효도. 효도. This concept of filial piety is really important. The core concept in Korean society, like respecting your parents. Are you a good son or good daughter? What kind of things do you do for your parents? So respecting your parents is universal, but in Korean context, this filial piety is a little unique and very important. If you are really successful, then your mom and dad will be really happy. So making your mom and dad happy because of your success, that's really important concept, value in the Korean culture. Respect for elders. Globalization. So Korean people are crazy about this globalization. If you go to Korea, you can see signs, lots of signs in English. Not every country is like that. Korea really values this globalization. Competition. This Korean society is everything is competition. You should go to a good school, highly ranked schools to be successful. This ranking is really important in every industry. So competition is really important. Homogeneity. Korean people want to believe that Korean people are from one forefather who is Dangun. Because when I was little, I learned that the forefather of the forefather's name is Dangun. So we are descendants of Dangun. But in reality, there is no such thing as one Korean pure race. There's no such thing. But Korean people want to believe that Korean race is like a family. So it's homogeneity. So Korean people treat each other like family among these Korean people. And collectivism is really important concept in Korea. 우리. This word 우리 means we or our. And Korean people really like this word 우리. 우리 집 means my house in English, but 우리 집, like even though you are living alone, Korean people like to use this word 우리 집, our house, even though you are living alone. 그렇죠? 예. And conservatism. Have you ever heard of this word 꼰대? Condescending older people. In every culture, there are people like this, but I think Korean 꼰대s are really, really 꼰대. My students thought about these kind of concept when they heard this word Korean culture. So I classified them into the category of philosophical perspectives. And about practices. Bowing. So Korean people bow when they greet. So many of my students greet me like 선생님 안녕하세요. So I like that. But if you are in Korea, you are not supposed to greet your teacher that way. You have to greet a little bit like this. 선생님 안녕하세요. Yeah, like this. And using honorifics. Korean verbs and adjectives should conjugate it appropriately depending on the person you are talking to. And when they talk about someone else, even you consider someone who is not here. So if you are talking about your professor, to other people, you have to use a proper reference term and proper conjugation for talking about the person who is not here, even though that person is not here, if that person is higher than you in terms of social hierarchy. And students protest. Many students answered me saying that when they visited Korean universities, they saw some Korean protests, on their campus. It was much harsh in the past. Like Korea was under dictatorship when I was attending college. So students' movement was really important, and many students protested against this dictatorship at that time. And now, the Korean society is much better. But still, if there are some social issues, then students express their opinion with this protest. So, yeah, this protest culture is quite unique to Korean, especially Korean college students' culture. And PDA, public display of affection. Many students told me that in Korea, they have seen many couples holding hands each other, and they are wearing, same clothes, like, under, you may have heard of this word, couple tee. So couple t-shirt, couple items. They wear same clothes, or they carry more same bags or something like that. So they want to express they are couples. This couple culture is kind of cute in Korea. Wearing couple items, yeah. And plastic surgery, you may already know about this situation in Korea. Many people have had their plastic surgery, like most K-pop stars. I think about 100%, more than 90% of Korean celebrities have had some kind of plastic surgery. So yeah, plastic surgery is really common in Korea. Smoking on the street. I think the situation is much better now, but some students felt that still many Korean people smoke on the street. So I told them at least they don't smoke weed on the street in Korea. And eating together. You may have heard this word, 회식. 회식 means eating together. Korean people like to eat together. And nowadays, it is not uncommon to eat alone. There's a Korean word, 혼밥 is 혼밥. 혼 means alone, 혼자. 밥 means meal. So 혼밥하다, to eat meat alone. So there is such a word. So in America, eating alone is very common, but in Korea, it is more common to eat together with other people. And asking personal questions. Some of my students told me that their Korean friends, or some ajumma, like middle-aged Korean women, they ask them very personal questions. So where are you from? What are your parents doing? And do you have boyfriend, your girlfriend? And why don't you have, you are so pretty, you should have a boyfriend, something like that. So yeah, Korean ajumma, ajashi, they are very curious about your personal things. It's a kind of way of showing their interest to you, but as I said, Korean people consider each other like family members, so they think it's okay to ask such questions. But for my students, they thought, why are they asking me such personal questions? So you may have similar experiences, with Korean people. And products, definitely Samsung, phones, Hyundai cars, LG, electronics, kind of things. And Korean food, what kind of Korean food do you like? Do you have good, Korean restaurants nearby? So yeah, many people enjoy Korean food nowadays in America. Hanbok, traditional Korean clothing. Have you ever worn hanbok? DMZ. So some students visited Korea and went to DMZ, demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Transportation. Seoul subway system. Yeah. So Seoul has a very nice, clean and convenient subway system. And there are bullet trains like KTX, Korea Train Express. If you want to go to Busan, then yeah, please use KTX. Technology, high-speed internet, and there are kiosks everywhere in Korea. Korean internet, cheap and fast, and even in coffee shops, their internet quality is really good. Yeah. And K-pop is one of the Korean culture products. 그쵸? Yeah. And K-drama and K-beauty products, cosmetics, facial masks are really popular. Then when we say K-pop, then is it a Korean thing? So you have this feeling of K-pop, but this music style is not pure Korean. So yeah, that's why I titled our class Culture Fusion. So Koreans adopted this Western music style and created something new, and that is called K-pop now. And Korean drama. Have you ever watched any Korean drama? Well, maybe 오징어 Game, Squid Game. Is it really Korean traditional kind of thing? No, but still, there are like this the characteristics of K drama. So I have been briefly talked about Korean culture from the perspective of these three P's: perspectives, practices, and products. But still, it's a very simplistic way of classifying culture. Whenever I talk about Korean culture in my classes, I always question myself, how much do I know about Korean culture? Am I eligible to talk about Korean culture? I was born and raised in Korea, and I was educated in Korea. But I have been away from Korea for more than 20 years. I visit Korea every year, but still, I am away from Korea for many years. And these younger generations, like more the students, college students like you, their culture, do I understand their culture? Maybe superficially, but I don't understand their culture perfectly. So whenever I teach Korean culture, I questioned myself, am I eligible to teach this Korean culture to them? So I looked into what kind of Korean culture things are dealt with in Korean language textbooks. So teaching culture as an information, I think this is kind of problematic. Culture can be just introduced as like information, like Koreans greetings with a bow. Korean names, like Koreans use family name first and then their given name last. This is opposite to American culture. Korean academic calendar in Korea. So like Korean academic calendar starts from March. And the first semester, which is spring semester, is the first semester for Korean college students. And there are blind date and Korean national symbols, Korean collectivism, Hanok. Hanok is Korean traditional house, the shape of Korean traditional house. Birthday food, Korean people eat seaweed soup, on their birthdays. It's a kind of tradition. And writing dates. When they write dates, they put year first and months and dates. So, Korean culture is introduced with this kind of information. They are really valid information, and you should know them if you want to know about this Korean culture. But that's very limited. Yeah, what I want to say is, I'm not saying that they are wrong, but they are not all Korean culture. But in Korean textbooks, everything is just summarized in short paragraphs. So yeah, I think that's not a right approach. Challenges in cultural education from my side, unilateral introduction and standardization of Korean culture. Mutual cross-cultural awareness is necessary. So as I mentioned in my first video, you should understand your own culture correctly and then see Korean culture from that perspective. And if you can find differences and why are they different, those kind of processes are necessary. Transmitting culture as knowledge is very limited. So possibility of students perceiving Korean culture as something different from their own culture. Yes, Korean culture is different from American culture, but there are more things that are similar between Koreans and Americans. Especially Korean society have been Americanized. This Americanization is ongoing, and you will find Korea is not very different from America. And like as I said, I introduced this concept of filial piety. You respect your parents, right? But American kids respect their parents, and Korean kids, respect their parents. So here filial piety is not very different from each other. But they emphasize this concept and they have this word. But in America, like we don't have such like specific term to refer to this respecting elders. So yeah, it's like interpretation might be a little different, but human beings, the way human beings live, is not very different from each other. So yeah, don't consider Korean culture, Korean people, Korean society very different from your own, culture and society. And mystifying Korean culture. If you watch promotional video by Korean tourism organization, they want to show Korea as like a very mysterious country. Like, you know what I mean? Like Asian, like spiritual something. And you may have heard about this temple stay. So like Korea has lots of Buddhist temples, and you can stay in Korean temple and learn about this Korean Buddhism kind of thing. But it's not something Korean people always do. But in some Korean promotional videos, like you can find yourself in Korea, but something like that. So Korea is not a mysterious country. Korea is a fun country, and Korea is a country that is very active, and it is very Americanized country. But in some books and some videos, they try to emphasize on this like mysterious kind of aspect of Korean culture. So, I want to emphasize that understanding of your own culture is necessary before talking about this Korean culture. And while talking about Korean culture, you will have chance to think about your own culture. Korean culture, is there such thing? Oh, probably, but to you and to me, to each of you, this Korean culture can be interpreted differently. So as I mentioned in my first video, the purpose of this course is exploring yourself to understand Korean culture in your own way. Students' attitude toward the Korean culture. I have seen some students who admire Korea. Everything about Korea is good. Korean characters are really cute, and Korean food, they are fantastic. Some students really admire Korean culture, and some students think Korean culture, Korean society sucks. Like Korean society, corrupted, like old-fashioned. There are lots of konde. And Korean streets are really dirty. So some students have like blind admiration. Some students have like a very negative attitude. Maybe Korean culture and society is located somewhere in the middle. So yeah, I want you guys have like some objective perspective on understanding the Korean culture. And teacher's attitude is also important too. Maybe sometimes I'll be very critical. Frankly speaking, I'm a kind of very I'm a person who is critical to this Korean culture. So I'm not going to say Korea is the best country in the world. I'm not saying I'm not going to say that Korean culture is really bad. I'll try to keep my attitude like objectively when I talk about this Korean culture. And in my Korean language class, I try to use more Korean language, so there have been limited discussions on this Korean culture. But in this course, I just speak in English, and so let's discuss about this cultural differences between Korean culture and American culture, or other cultures you are familiar with. And I understand that the interest in Korean culture is diverse. So not everybody is Korean culture fans. What do you think? are you a K culture fan? You may know this word Korea boo. I didn't know it has very negative connotation, but Korea boo has kind of negative connotation. So I don't think you guys are Korea boos. But I know that you guys are interested in this Korean culture and you want to learn about this Korean culture. So I'm not going to focus too much on just K-pop or K-drama. And I try to cover, more items than just K-culture related, items. And I know that not everyone wants to eat Korean food and wear hanbok. So it's good to know about, Korean food and, about Korean hanbok. But I have seen some Korean people forcing their foreign friends, eating kimchi. So if you want to learn about Korea, you have to eat this kimchi. Oh no, it's too spicy. I don't want to eat this. But you have to eat this to understand the Korean culture. It's not a good attitude. And I know some teachers focus on this traditional culture, like Korean pansori. And you may know this pansori, traditional like singing style, and folk dance kind of thing. But as a Korean person who grew up in Korea, who was educated in Korea, I don't know much about this, very old style, traditional culture. So we will talk about some traditional stuff, but I want to focus more on this contemporary culture. And in many Korean language culture classes, they were doing this craft making. Yeah, it is good, but maybe it's not for this class. Yeah, and more students were interested in modern history. Why Koreans like and also hate Japanese people. When there are soccer match between Korea and Japan, it's crazy. So yeah, you may want to know about this, the relationship between Korea and Japan, and Korea and China, and Korea and America. So we'll talk about some historical backgrounds. And how much are you interested in North Korean issues? If you are interested, then we'll have chance to talk about this North Korea and South Korean issues. Okay, so can you think more about the three P's of Korean culture? So, what kind of ideas they have, and what kind of practices, what kind of products they have in Korea? And also think about three P's of the culture you are familiar with. Well, for example, American culture. What kind of philosophical perspectives are representing this American culture and practices and products. So let's talk about these, next week more in detail. 자, 그러면 여러분 감사합니다.